Once upon a time, billions of years ago, the planet we now call Earth was a hot, dry, and barren place. There were no oceans, no seas, and no life. But through a series of extraordinary events, water began to appear, transforming the Earth forever. This is the story of the seas and oceans, how they formed, how they gave rise to life, and why they remain crucial to our planet today. The formation of the oceans around 4.5 billion years ago. Earth was formed from dust and gas that surrounded the young sun. During its early years, Earth was a molten mass, with volcanic eruptions and frequent impacts from asteroids. Over time, the planet began to cool, and a solid crust formed on its surface. Water, which had been trapped in the planet's interior, was released into the atmosphere through volcanic eruptions. Additionally, icy comets that collided with Earth brought even more water. Eventually, as the planet's surface cooled further, this water condensed into liquid and began to fill the low-lying areas, giving birth to the first oceans. These early oceans were nothing like the blue, life-filled waters we know today. Instead, they were probably green and murky, filled with dissolved minerals and chemicals. But they set the stage for one of the most important events in Earth's history, the origin of life. Oceans. The cradle of life, the first life forms on Earth appeared in the oceans around 3.8 billion years ago. These early organisms were simple, single-celled bacteria that thrived in the mineral-rich waters. Over time, they evolved, and some began to use sunlight to create energy through a process called photosynthesis. This process not only provided food for these organisms, but also released oxygen into the atmosphere, slowly transforming the planet's air into something that could support more complex life. For billions of years, all life on Earth was confined to the oceans. The seas were teeming with tiny microorganisms, algae, and eventually, more complex creatures like jellyfish and sponges. As the oceans continued to evolve, so did the life forms within them. Fish, the first vertebrates, appeared in the seas around 500 million years ago, followed by marine reptiles, sharks, and the ancestors of today's whales and dolphins. The oceans were the original home of life, and they remain vital to life on Earth today. They are responsible for producing more than half of the oxygen in the atmosphere, regulating the Earth's climate, and providing a habitat for millions of species. The exploration of the seas for most of human history, the oceans were seen as mysterious and dangerous. People knew little about what lay beneath the surface, and the vastness of the seas made them difficult to explore. Early civilizations, like the Phoenicians and the Polynesians, were among the first to master navigation, using the stars and wind patterns to travel across the seas. By the 15th and 16th centuries, during the Age of Exploration, sailors began to venture farther into the oceans in search of new lands and trade routes. Famous explorers like Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, and James Cook sailed across the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, charting new territories and expanding the world's knowledge of the seas. Despite these early explorations, much of the ocean remained a mystery. It wasn't until the 20th century, with the advent of submarines and underwater research technologies, that humans began to explore the deep ocean.